Welcome everyone to Andrea Romer Coaching, the Culture of One, and we're talking about disappointment today. Now, the Culture of One is a process created for healthcare professionals, especially because really being able to give yourself that support is essential, and being the best version of ourselves is essential to take care of us. So, disappointment today. I think that this comes up for me because in our line of work, we go up against a lot of the same problems. And what that means is that then we experience disappointment. And we are so used to experiencing that feeling that we oftentimes get stuck in a place where we don't recognize what it is and how we can use it. We've only been maybe introduced to the idea of how to find a solution from the vision of the problem. And so I like to have a conversation about disappointment. So disappointment is disconnection from your ability to get what you desire, or disconnection from the timeline of what you are desiring. And disappointment is sneaky, and we are willing to hold that against ourselves. We're willing to allow it. And are we willing to then let it be what it is? It's a signal. Disappointment is a signal that you're on the right path, that you have ruled out one avenue, you've ruled out one skill that isn't going to get you where you want to go. What you desire is coming. Embrace you in these moments. And we can talk about how that's possible today, and also allow the clarity that you have to be clear. That's a sentence, isn't it? It's like trying to prove fraud with fraud. It's certainly possible. And so we're just going to use this to our advantage, that you can find clarity by getting clear. You get to take disappointment as your map. And so if you're settling in and you're coming in, please feel free to grab a pen and pencil, because I will show my document where you can get some questions. So you may have ideas come to your mind, and I would love for you to share. Using disappointment as your map, you're like, what? That sounds terrible. But when you think about it that way, you don't get a quarter of your way on Google Maps, and Google Maps is like, you're not there yet. You're not like, oh, I need to turn around and go back. Like, I'm not there yet. And you don't make it mean anything about you and turn around. And that's how I want you to think about disappointment. It's a sweet little thing. And if you are a parent, or maybe you can think about an example in your mind, you know how sweet it is, the space when you get to support a child when they're disappointed. And why is that a sweet space? Because you know they will figure this out. You know they will be successful, because you never think they're not going to be. And if you do, well, if you're like, well, I do kind of because they're fucked up, then what that means is that's how you view yourself too. That's how you view yourself too. And that's all the work we're doing here at the Culture of One. They want encouragement. You want encouragement. You want to take your mind off of what's happening for them at that moment. And you want to do that for you too. The reason I brought up the child example is because that's a way that it's so easy for us. We want that to be available for ourselves too. And if we're not able to get into that space with our child, if we are immediately worrying that this disappointment for them blocks their success in the future, then that's the work we do on ourselves too. So great. Things that are not going as you want them to go, bring up disappointment. You might be thinking, I did all of the right things, but your energy is tuned into the results being the only right thing. And if you're not seeing those results, that gets disappointing. Last evening, so appropriately, the night before I was doing how to handle disappointment, my husband and I both expressed that we were disappointed with how we showed up in our day. We didn't try to talk ourselves out of that. I was feeling it. I wasn't doing anything to avoid feeling it. I wanted to put myself in the place to allow myself to connect to the energy of where this was not disappointment. So I also did things that provided self-care for me. I didn't withhold going to a place where I could feel better. So let's just start with the who. Disappointment, we think sometimes is about not having the results, or it's about something outside of ourselves. But really, it's about ourselves. And this is no call out. This is just what we know about disappointment. I told myself last night that the person that I disappointed knew that too. They didn't. They were feeling safe and surrounded, and they were having their own issues in those moments. They were feeling all their own feelings. It's not about me. I don't blame outside circumstances. I also work on not making meaning of what I think they think. I'm going to go ahead and pull up my screen so that you can kind of see where I am here. The what, the who, sorry, the who. The what, I'm not deserving. You're not deserving. The story is not real. Give yourself more credit than you do. Self-actualized people, as Maslow said, have the skill to understand there is not an end, that the work of the journey is the present and where the juice is. This is a sentence that also takes into account that we have the fabric of our lives formed by our trauma in the past, our gender, our culture, but really the past that we are living is how we choose to remember it. And so we don't even often remember from a lens of, trauma or feminism or cultural colonialism, all of the things. And so, I always invite a space that we remember that the past comes forward in our lives, but we also have an element of ourselves in the past that we have to partially think, oh, this isn't actually the present here. And that's work I do with my clients. We talk about, the past, the fabric of trauma and feminism, the way we are as women in our lives, or the way we are culturally in our lives, that does inform our future. But there is a lot of our past that is our story about ourselves that comes forward too. And those are two different kinds of things. The one I'm talking about right now is when we're creating a solution for ourselves, when we are looking for a result. We typically get fixated on the end or where we were, and we don't want to be there. We want to be focusing on the present, where we are right now. And sometimes we don't give ourselves as much credit as we can. We don't understand how actually self-actualized we are, because we are looking for the result that we want to help us feel better before we can feel better. Where? Home or work, anytime. Think how we layer disappointment into our life. I'm disappointed about my day, so I will be that version of myself at home, and then I will be pissed about that, and then I will let it affect my sleep, and then into the next day. You likely have some idea about this in your life. What if you can put a pause on that disappointment having to permeate? What if you even get to have that disappointment be there and not make it mean anything about you, and not have to get rid of it, but not have to use it? What if you can name that feeling? Give it space before you head to a different part of your life. I guess sometimes I think of disappointment as green in me, and green means go for me. When I'm disappointed, that means there's more here for me to find. This is a signal. It means there's another skill for me to use. This one didn't work. I have more tools to draw and I can ask different questions. What color is disappointment for you? How often do you feel disappointed? Maybe you haven't noticed that disappointment is a feeling. And when we observe the feeling of disappointment, it often sounds like that didn't go how I wanted. I can't believe this isn't done yet. I can't believe I let them down. When? This is a life practice. But, I'm a life coach. And so what I find is that who we are at home and who we are at work are the same. My best coach taught me how we do one thing is how we do everything. And that is so true for me. I am a hard driver. I do everything hard. And I don't mean hard. I mean, I go full on, full passion all the way. So when I am into it, I am into it. And when I'm not into it, I am not into it. And that's how I am, a hard driver. I like to say something and do it. I don't need a lot of tools. I go for it. And so sometimes that leaves me disappointed because sometimes you need to build new skills or new tools. And I have to be mindful that that's not disappointing. That's how life is. I wasn't born with every skill and tool, but not everybody has to be a hard driver. That's just not for everybody. And some people are really in tune with what they need. So if you're thinking, and that is, geez, that's a stereotype of myself that I also work with my clients on archetypal work, derivative. Instead of stereotyping myself as a hard driver, I can find the archetype that works for me. And that is some great work that I do with my clients. So as a nurse, if you work in healthcare or you are a nurse, the nature, oh, I'm sorry, let me just stop and check the chat. I'm so sorry, pardon me. Okay, there's no one else to let in. I'm gonna go back to, I don't think I shared my screen. I am so sorry. How silly of me. There, that is so much better. So you probably missed some of this and you might want some of this. So I'm going to give you a moment to look that over. And I'm sorry if I was late letting you in and sharing my screen. What? I get so caught up in, like I said, my passion for this work. So if you need to take a photo of it to reference it later, that is fine. It's not super organized right now. I think it's organized as you will need it. So I was at the when. So we have who, what, where, and when. This is a life practice. But as a nurse, the nature of the work is difficult. I'm sorry to say, but it is. If you sign up to be a nurse, you know you're at least signing up for difficulty. It can be disappointing to come up against the same issues every shift with no solution because we think that healthcare offers a solution. What I'm asking you to focus on is that you work in an industry that invites the problem. We don't ask for healthy people to come back. We ask for sick people to come in. And that feels disappointing. We think that healthcare is about solutions, but really it's about inviting the problem to see if we can help with symptoms. And sometimes we find a solution. I often use video games as a comparison. Those seem to be way more fun. How? Where is it? The shift here when you get this signal, where it is not having to rush out of it immediately, and how you know you're not is because you won't do something that makes you feel better, but something that invites a better thing for you. So let me be clear on that. So where is it? It's not in making yourself feel better. It's about doing something that's better for you. The difference is something that makes us feel better when we're feeling disappointed is oftentimes drinking or spending money, anything that gives us dopamine, whereas doing something better for us is typically a nap, a bath, meditation, dinner, walk, sex, reading, fun. And those could be off, but the for you, you can decide what's best for you. But the sentence is, we know that we're allowing disappointment when we don't do something that makes us feel better, but we do something that's better for us. I guess I should type that so that you can get that down. We can know allowing the emotion of disappointment when we don't do something, just do something to make us feel better, but we do something that is better for us. Whoop. Okay. So that's my who, what, where, when, and how. And when was the last time you were disappointed? Oftentimes that just goes off the radar. We don't even feel it anymore. And what that tells me, and that's where I really had to check in with myself, was that I wasn't looking for more solutions, for more skills to actually get. I'd given up on creating new things and new goals and accomplishments because I wasn't willing to feel disappointment while building new skills. And sometimes that happens because of how resilience works for us or because of what we have going on in our lives. When I was working as an ICU nurse with young children and then children that could take care of themselves more, and then children that were involved even in more activities, I could tell that it took a lot of resilience. It took a lot of disappointment and humbling in myself to be a parent that reinvented new skills every day. And I let that tell myself that I couldn't do that same thing at work. And I guess what that really told me was that I wasn't doing that in my home life either. I was a little bit stagnant. And that is no regret on my part. It's my ability to look back and say, oh, yes, that was me being really hard on myself and using my stamina to force myself forward rather than being able to allow disappointment, which means not doing things to make me feel better, but doing things that were better for myself and allowing myself to not rely on stamina to get results, but to rely on one, allowing my feelings, taking care of myself, so my energy and my mindset being non-negotiable and focused priorities. Why was that a problem when you were disappointed? Well, we typically just want things to be easy. We want to make difficult mean we are not good enough. One big question is, when do you think others are disappointed? We think when we feel disappointment, that's because they feel disappointment. We feel disappointment because of us feeling that in our body. That means we don't like the way we are viewing ourselves in this situation. It did not get us to the results that we wanted. We felt we could do more or be more. It has nothing to do with another person unless they say, I'm so disappointed. And that's rare. Or if you really want to know, you ask, were you disappointed in me? Takes courage, friends, takes courage. But if you haven't heard that, then our minds don't need to make it mean others are disappointed when we are. And I think that just answered, can others be disappointed in you? If they tell you they are, if you ask if they are and get those words back, typically we don't ask because we make disappointment mean such a bad thing about us. So the culture of one process is mindset and energy, non-negotiable self-care and focused priorities. We are so used to thinking our way out of disappointment in a way that stresses our resilience. Just like I said, that takes us to doing things that make us feel better, not doing things that are better for ourselves. Can you let the feeling of disappointment be there while taking care of yourself? And then allow yourself to do the thing that's better for you that changes your energy. You know, if you're really into the energy part, which I think the energy, the feminism, the body part for healthcare professionals is really important because we spend a lot of time, we have very smart minds, our thinking mind spends a lot of time convincing our bodies to come along, and that stresses our resilience or our ability to go along, our ability to be there for ourselves. If you're really into this, so when we feel disappointed, it's because we've really disconnected from seeing ourselves the way that we truly are in that moment. If we are showing up with our best skill, and we are supposed to need to find more skills because we're not done as humans. We're never done evolving. And so when we're feeling disappointment, it's a disconnection from the way you're really, truly viewing yourselves as your real person in this moment. Let's just check the chat. Okay. And no one else to come in. Let's see. Okay. Non-negotiable in this. We don't beat ourselves up. Let this interfere with our self-care. We keep fun in life. We set a time limit for time spent thinking about what we did wrong. That is a really easy strategy that, yeah, you're going to do it once. You're going to be like, I'm still thinking about it. It takes a little bit of practice, but it's a great strategy. You just set your watch. You get 10 minutes. I'm down to 5. I give myself 5 minutes and then I move on. And if I really need to do a root cause analysis, then it needs to be more time. But really, we spend a lot of time thinking about the root cause analysis when it's pretty simple. If we're not thinking about disappointment, if we allow it, then we are finding new solutions and we're never done building skills. Focus priorities in this, deciding what you will expect to be different about you when ... when you get that result, the thing that you didn't get when you became disappointed. How will you be feeling when you're that person? Apply that today. And you won't know. Your mind might be foggy around this, but I bet you have an idea. It'll be like, I will be so happy. Okay. Invite a little bit of that now. What skills do you need to build now? You get focused on not just a root cause analysis or finding out what you did wrong, but what skills do you need to build now? Because you found out the skill that didn't work, or you found out the speed that you needed to change, found out where you were a little bit uncomfortable. It's all okay. And so that's really all that I have today on disappointment. It's a signal. It just means that you didn't get the result that you wanted. and you get to build new skills so that you can get the result that you want, which is typically being on the journey. Because remember, when Google Maps says to you, you're a quarter of the way there, and they give you a new direction, you don't make it mean that you're disappointed that you're not there yet. You never thought that if the journey is going to take an hour and 10 minutes, you're not disappointed that you're not there in 15 minutes. And our brains tell us that with the current skill set we have and with the support systems we've surrounded ourselves with and with the career that we work in and the education that we have and the neurotypical or non-neurotypical issues we have going or the fabric of our intent or all of these things, we may help them inform the timeline that we think we need to get results. And usually there are surprises. And so when we don't make that mean anything and we continue to build skills and we continue to have our own back, disappointment means much less and is a signal for us. So have the best day. Oh, I want you to be able to find me. And you can find me on LinkedIn, Facebook. Go to www.romercoaching.com and we can set up time to chat because I offer free consults. The best thing is that then we can set in motion some strategies, but we can also talk about you. See you soon.